thank you everybody for coming back to the Riggs Beast channel. As always, let's go beast on that subscribe button. Let's go beast on that like button. And let's go beast on this week's Let's Talk Wrestling, Wrestling's Dark Secrets. Now, there's two topics we're going to get into this week. There's not really a lot of news going on. Remember, we had the Superstar Shakeup this past week, WrestleMania the week before, so we're in a slow news cycle. The news that's coming out lately is not good. Hashtag FireJBL has been, I don't want to say hot on the internet, to be honest. I don't think it's been hot, but it's been important. And Vince Russo situation. So we're going to go over those two topics, but we're going to go over them in a way that's not being done. And here's what I mean. A lot of opinions, a lot of thoughts, and a lot of the voices that are being heard about this are being heard either from a one-sided point of view or a point of view with an agenda and forcing an agenda down your throat, trying to make you view it their way. That's not going to happen here, and that's not the way this should be looked at. Let's start with JBL. And we're going to start with JBL because it affects a lot of avenues and really gets into a lot of the problems a lot of people, even here on YouTube, content creators for wrestling, are having. It also ties into Vince Russo. So what's going on and why even hashtag FireJBL has come up? I'm going to do a quick synopsis. Mauro Ranallo was named Wrestling Announcer of the Year. Now, take that for what you will. There are some people who think he's not that good. There's some people who think he's the greatest. Of course, usually that means he lies somewhere in the middle, which is where I fall with him. But if you remember the snowstorm in the Northeast about a month ago, he missed that SmackDown. Then missed a few others, and people were starting to wonder, we did on this channel, what's going on? Then people started making the correlation with JBL going off on him on Twitter, going off on him in that first Bring It to the Table, for even bringing that out there. Remember in 2015, he was ranked the worst, which he is. Now, then we started coming up with the stories about how he bullied Mauro Ranallo based off that. Then the Justin Roberts book came out, which this was a story people already knew about, but forgot. The story with the passport. And if you don't know the story with the passport, essentially they were on a European tour, and Justin Roberts' passport was stolen by somebody. Now, it came out, if you know Johnny Mundo, or John Morrison, for WWE fans who don't know Lucha Underground, him and Johnny Nitro at the time were M&M. And Johnny Mundo had confessed that JBL came to him and Nitro and basically threatened them to steal the passport. They wouldn't do it. Somebody did. Roberts then tells the story of what he had to do, the crazy stuff he had to do in order to go to the U.S. Embassy, get a new one, get back, etc. And since then, and since all these rumors and all these stories have come out, Adam Copeland, in a WWE produced story. Keep that in mind. WWE produced this own story from Adam Copeland, a.k.a. Edge, about what JBL did to him in a shower, called Soaping His Ass. Yeah, take that one in. Just Google it, all right? I'm going to leave you to Google that one. Here's the point of the FireJBL situation. As noble as it is for a lot of people, and I've even gotten behind it because, quite frankly, I'm tired of it. I'm tired of him as an announcer. Continuing hearing these stories, especially in today's environment, it's not a good look for wrestling in general, especially WWE. They would be better off without him. But a hashtag on Twitter, a small uprising by fans, and it's a small uprising. I'm sorry. Prominent voices in the internet community might be doing it, but it's small. Stakeholders, shareholders, and advertisers basically run WWE today, not just Vince McMahon. That is the point people have to get through their heads that they don't. And there's no advertisers threatening to pull from WWE. There's no shareholders in an uproar, and stakeholders are not in an uproar. Stakeholders are people with personal investment in the growth and well-being of the company. There's nobody there in an uprising. And without them, nothing's going to happen. You see, if the bottom line is not affected, and the bottom line is not being affected, then why make a maneuver? That's the way businesses run with controversial employees. See, especially in a company like WWE, in an environment for which they run, it's creating buzz, it's creating interest, and since nobody's threatening to pull, eyes are coming on the product. Now, for a good reason, no, and I'm not going to say the old Eric Bischoff controversy creates cash, because I'm not even saying this is creating cash, but the anti-bullying campaign WWE runs, Be a Star, JBL, which has never been a part of, luckily for them, not been affected. So let's look at it again. Nothing's being affected. No advertisers are being affected for WWE. Shareholders, not affected. Stakeholders, not affected. Stock price, not affected. All of those equal no movement. Is it right? No. But that's the way the world works. And it's just you have to understand that. So is JBL going to be fired because of the Twitter handle? No, he's not going to. JBL's not going to get fired because a few thousand people put hashtag fire JBL. Not going to happen. The guy from SmackDown, though noble and appreciated what he did, got kicked out of the arena. Was it fair? No. Is it taking away from free speech? Yes. But did the guy have a sign that technically was a lie and invalid? Yes. You see, you have to look at it from a realistic perspective. Even the guy who got kicked out, who made his voice heard on other YouTube content creators' show, the point at the end of it all with him, his sign was technically slander. He personally did not have impact with JBL, though the point he was trying to make was valid and is noble. In the end, he was slandering, and thus, technically, if that got on TV, he technically could be sued by JBL. He really could. Not going to happen, but he could. The dark secret here is that advertisers, stakeholders, shareholders run this company for its major decisions. But that's all businesses, guys. And you have to understand that. You have to realize that. Honestly, one that affects YouTube content creators for wrestling, content creators in general for wrestling, is the Vince Russo situation. Now, that one is not getting the pub this is, because Vince doesn't work for WWE anymore. Thank God he doesn't. If you don't know about the Vince Russo situation, he, on his latest Podcast One podcast, made homophobic slurs, slanders towards multiple people in the wrestling industry. Dave Meltzer, Wade Keller, etc. Basically stating that being gay is wrong, makes you less of a man, etc. I don't even want to get into it because it is disgusting to me. Now, his show is reliant on real advertisers. He has 2 or 3 legit advertisers who sponsor his show. You can go look them up, exactly who they are. One's a tire company. You see, people right now all over are struggling to monetize and make money from producing wrestling content outside of the industry. A la even this podcast or other of your favorite podcasts or shows via YouTube or via any other platform. This is the kind of stuff that doesn't help. This is the kind of stuff that makes wrestling hard to monetize. WWE's different, guys. They're not going to lose effect for this because they're a major company. They're safe. They don't know you. They don't know other podcasters. They don't know these other people. And then when this stuff is coming out from a major voice, internet-wise, makes it very hard for advertisers to trust random people, though you may not think they're random, talking about wrestling. This is where the community as a whole, instead of going at it with an agenda, instead of looking out for number one, need to come together, need to make a force, and need to make it realized that this is not the community as a whole. Problem is, and here comes your secret, it is. A lot of prominent voices make homophobic slurs. A lot of popular voices fat shame. A lot of prominent voices are bullies themselves and don't even realize it. That's the problem. That's the problem in this entire community, in this entire YouTube community and wrestling community as a whole. I'm not talking about Wade Keller. I'm not talking about Ryan Satin. I'm not talking about Meltzer here. Those aren't the guys I'm talking about. They are lifers. To be honest, Solomonster is the crown jewel of this side. He really is. Of this side of it. A guy that was in it, writing, not into the backstage side. He's the crown jewel of it. He comes at it from an objective point of view, and he is a major, major influence on how I'd like to do things. On the other hand, a lot of people beneath that now, they cause the problem. They themselves are causing it. And I'm not going to name names because I don't do that. I don't get involved in that side of YouTube and that side of podcasting. But they're creating a lot of this problem, which right now is hurting podcasters on all platforms. Vince Russo, major issue. You can't be, let me take that back. You can be controversial with opinions. You could be controversial with your thoughts. You can't be controversial with your words towards people. You can't. If you think that's taking away free speech, let me ask you this question. Where does your free speech begin and mine end? If I started making homophobic slurs, if I started making racial slurs, should I have absolute freedom to do that with no repercussion? Should I? That's what's going on. That's what's going on in a lot of these podcasts going with wrestling. And why is it happening? Because people want to make this character of themselves. Since wrestling is supposed to be built on characters, they look at it as, well, I need to be a character. I need to get attention. This is how I do it. You're very hard for Pepsi, Coke, AutoZone, etc. to say, yeah, YouTube, go ahead. Put an ad for me on that video when it's a 30-minute cuss word rant, homophobic rant involved with wrestling. Now, I'm going back to homophobic a lot because that's what Vince Russo did. And I'm not saying everybody's doing that on YouTube because they're not. But the bullying part, putting people down, slandering people, sometimes racially biased, sometimes homophobically biased. Yeah, that's happening. Look in the mirror. Go look at your content. Go back. Look at the body you've built. And look at then how it affects everybody beneath you. See, that's the thing. The people at the top affect the bottom. It's symbiotic, guys. It's a symbiotic relationship. The top affects the bottom. JBL may be the head right now of a problem. But it's a problem that's been going on all across wrestling, from inside of it to outside of it. A lot of people just feel it's okay for themselves to do it because they're outside the bubble. When, to be honest, it's not. It's just as bad. The difference is he was successful in wrestling, so he gets the attention. You're trying to be successful in wrestling. You don't get as much. But remember, the top affects the bottom. Keep in mind what you say, because it just might affect you someday. And that's going to do it for this week's Let's Talk Wrestling. As always, let's go beast on that subscribe button. Let's go beast on that like button. And as always, guys, keep it beast.